My intuition is telling me there'll be better days. Yeah. My intuition is telling me there'll be better days. I like this tone. Yeah. My intuition is telling me there'll be better days. I sit in silence and find whenever I meditate, my fears alleviate, my tears evaporate, my faith don't deviate.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Health and Hustle podcast. This is episode 5. As always, the podcast is brought to you by Sports Mediscussion, which reminds you to heal by moving. So once again, let's check in with my co-host, Cory Carpenter. How you doing today, man?
Todd, good, man. How you doing?
Good. I feel a little bit more lively now. We're doing this at about 9:30 in the morning instead of about 12 hours later. So I think we'll have a little bit more energy after not going through a full day, you know.
Yeah, that's the plan. Hopefully we'll see how it works here.
Cool, man. All right. Getting into the hot seat. I'm excited to hear your questions. So you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah, I think I'll go first. Last week we touched on music a little bit.
Yes.
And you told us about Drake and all those guys. So kind of staying on the same realm of things, I think I oversaw a Snapchat of you and Jay Pontius watching 50 Shades of Grey this weekend. I didn't get a chance to ask you how that went, but I was kind of made me curious. Like, are you normally into like raunchy chick flicks, or like, what's your favorite kind of movie if you're to sit down and watch a movie on a Saturday night?
Man, you're really kind of putting me out there, aren't you? So, no, yeah, for those of you guys that don't know, Jacob Pontius is one of the guys from our 4 a.m. crew. He's a real good buddy of mine. It was Mom's weekend here at OU, so he came up and visited his mom, and he came over, and we were trying to watch some NCAA game, and we had a cigar, but ended up watching a little bit of 50 Shades of Grey too, so not too proud of that, But no, I think movie-wise, I'm actually not a big movie guy at all. So two of my best buddies back home, they're the guys who quote like 50 movie quotes a day, and I never get one of them. I just don't, because I don't really remember movies that well anyway. So, and I never really go to the movie theater. So I'm really big into more like TV series, TV shows. If I would have to pick a genre for my movies though, it'd probably be like action or drama. So those are my two big favorites. But like I said, I'm a big TV series guy. If I can find any time to kind of watch, I don't have a ton of time. I did actually start. I said I was not going to talk about this, but Jay Asseltine got me into this one show called Westworld on HBO. So I watched a little bit of that this weekend because I got a lot of stuff done, so I kind of rewarded myself a little bit and watched a few episodes of that, and my mind's still blown, so I'm still trying to recover from what I saw on that show. So, that was a good question.
I saw that this weekend, and I've been meaning to ask you. I just kept forgetting and never got around to it.
For the record, that wasn't planned.
Was there a lot of action in that movie then, or?
Well, I've seen it once. I saw it with Emily when it first came out in theaters because she loves that kind of stuff. But I haven't seen the second one, which I heard is a lot better. So the soundtrack was cool though, but I wasn't a big fan of the movie. Okay.
All right. Well, that's enough of that. I'll leave you alone.
Yeah. All right, man. So my hot seat question for you is: everybody's pretty aware that I'm big into injuries and trying to help people regain movement, stability, mobility, whatever it is. So I'm curious as to if you've ever suffered from an injury or any kind of health condition related to fitness or health that you've had to try to overcome to kind of get back to where you wanted to be fitness-wise or just general health-wise.
Yeah, there's 2 that come to mind. One would be most recently this past fall. I got a little touch of elbow tendonitis. We prepped for Muscle Beach. And I was super light and lean and, doing a ton of volume, a lot of reps, not a ton of weight. And then we came back, and as soon as we got back from the beach, we started pounding heavy weight, getting ready for the powerlifting meet. So kind of doing that abrupt change from super lightweight, a lot of reps, to lower reps, a lot higher weight I could handle. I mean, it wasn't that the form was broken down. It was just that such an abrupt change there to the body. Just didn't really know how to react. I was doing an overhead dumbbell rollback was the position something kind of felt a tweak in my elbow. So basically, the whole prep leading into the powerlifting meet for like 4 months, and then even a little bit after, I couldn't do anything overhead because that's kind of the position my body remembered the pain from. So I had to keep everything real tight into my chest. Just did a lot of stability and, core and just different things, just trying to get that healed up. So that would probably be the most recent. It was definitely a struggle mentally, and it's one of those things at the time I didn't even realize I was going through some adversity. I mean, it wasn't anything crazy, but just the looking forward to this meet for such a long time, and then when you have something like that kind of messes up your prep, it kind of taxes on your mind a little bit and makes it a little bit tougher to go through. But it's just one of those things you learn from and move on. Another one, though, was like 2 years ago. I was probably 6 months into squat every day, and I was playing softball. It's not even really health related, but I was playing softball, slid into home plate, didn't think anything of it. I had a nice big scrape on my knee, no big deal, felt fine. The next day at work, something popped in my knee, and I couldn't walk. For like 4 days, I was literally hobbling on one leg, and I didn't go to the doctor. I refused. I didn't really want to know what happened because I had no interest in resting. So I hobbled to and from work and to and from the gym and was literally doing one-legged squats with an empty barbell on my back because I was so fucking determined to not miss a day of squatting. And that's one of those things that just kind of like goes back to show like the level of dedication and motivation once you put your mind to something that you can achieve it. I literally had to jump off the curb at the gym because I couldn't walk normal on steps or anything, and I was in there doing one-legged squats with empty barbell. I walked in, I did that, I walked out because that's all I could do. But it was just literally, for me, it was more of a mental thing. That was a long time ago. My knee has since healed up. Great. I haven't had any issues with it. So I'm kind of curious to see if there's anything going on in there. But, all the lunges that we do have definitely helped stabilize it. And I mean, I don't have any injuries or anything right now. My elbow's healed up. My knees are healed up. My ankles, my joints, everything feels great. So.
Cool, man. Yeah, I think a lot of us suffered from that elbow tendonitis when we were getting ready for that meet. I think it was just from at least because a lot of us low bar, and I think being in that position, with the external rotation in the shoulders and the elbow, I think that was at least I know for me that's what I attributed to it. But right when we started doing high volume again, it went away. So that was pretty weird.
Yeah, it's good now. I feel really healthy. I mean, like I said, that happened probably in September, and I probably didn't feel 100% healthy until like probably a month ago. It was probably February, March, whenever I felt back to normal with all my overhead and lifts and everything like that. So I'm excited now to finally be healthy and eating and hitting after the volume and the weight. Nice,
man. Sweet. So, I think real quick again before we get into the topics, because I think we got some really, really good interrelated topics today. Give us one thing that you got going on right now that you're getting ready for, or that you're just maybe they got going on today.
Okay, so I told you guys last week I was getting ready to go to Vegas for the weekend. I went out there, survived, made it back, got to work out at Average Bros Gym, which if you haven't looked it up yet, you need to look it up, or you can just tell by a 60-second video on my IG. It's just a complete different atmosphere than what we're used to at Old School Gym. It's very quiet, very, not that we're not serious at Old School, but very serious, head down work. There's not music playing. Like the first rule when you walk in the door says no headphones, be social. So like guys are there talking to each other, picking each other up. When someone's going after a lift, you stop, you watch them. Just no rowdiness or whatever, which is super controlled environment, just like those guys. Like those are Olympic lifters. So if you're on stage or a platform at the Olympics or whatever the hell you're doing, it's not crazy, loud, obnoxious. Like it's super quiet and controlled. So I got to squat there, talked to John Bros for a good while. He's an awesome dude, so that was really exciting. Other than that, though, I mean, we got back Sunday night, and then I dove right into I'm working afternoon shift right now, and then I'm short shifting back into day shift this week. So there literally was like a 2-hour window where I ate dinner. Me and Jess watched a movie Sunday, and then I had to start getting prepared for the week ahead. makes for long days, waking up at 2:30, going to the gym, at 4 a.m., and then I get off work at 10 p.m., get home about 10:30, 10:40. It makes for a quick turnaround time. So this is going to be just another grueling week, but it's, I'm looking forward to it. I got a lot of exciting things happening this week with new clients. So basically just ready to rock. How about you?
Awesome, man. Mine's not as exciting as yours. I've never been to Vegas before, but really the big thing this week I got going on is, so I've talked a little bit about my thesis work in the past episodes. So I defended my thesis and all that stuff. Like my presentations the important presentations are already done. I'm in the process now of, I'll be turning in my third round of revisions on my actual manuscript today to the dean. And then in hopes by Friday to have my whole document ready for publication, to be publication ready, because the goal is to get it published in the Journal of Athletic Training, which is kind of a big deal. It should be pretty cool if that can happen. But I thought I was a decent writer, and after getting the revisions back from this dean, it kind of made me reevaluate things a little bit. My whole paper was purple with her corrections. So, but no, I've been working really hard at that, and it's been a cool process. But I'm definitely ready for it to kind of be at its tail end here. So.
Yeah, it'll be nice. That'll be a big weight lifted off once you get some of that taxing shit done out of the way, and you can really get into the really nitty gritty of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it'll be cool for sure. Cool, man. All right, so so the first topic we got going on today, Cory, I think we briefly touched on it last episode, but I think we kind of need to dive deeper into it because a lot of people can relate to this, and I think we can provide some good value here. So the first one is living within your 24 hours. So before we get into that, my question to you is, because I think everybody's got a little different thought of that when they hear that. So what do you think, or what does it mean to you to live within your 24 hours, Cory?
Well, I've heard this a lot in different, in one way or another. People tell me I need to live within my 24 hours. Being someone that's super ambitious and goal-driven and always pushing for that next step, next level, even when you reach a goal, you celebrate it for a minute and then you're on to the next one. So I'm constantly go and never stop for a second to either A, look back and see what you've accomplished, or B, take a second to breathe. So people are always telling me, live within your 24 hours in terms of, you can only get so much done in a day. And it's one thing to, say there's not enough time in the day when you're sitting around on your ass. But when you're saying there's not enough time in the day and you literally don't even sit down to eat dinner, that's a completely different ballgame. So when someone says live within your 24-hour window, to me, I take that as almost a realization of, you can only get so much accomplished in a day. And it's good to be super ambitious, but you don't want to sell yourself short, because something I struggled with last year and I've gotten better at in 2017 is making too many goals, too many to-do lists in a 24-hour window. So I might make a to-do list for 12 things on a Tuesday. I might knock out 7 of them, which is super awesome given the window I've got to do it. But I'm still, at the end of the day, I'm like, fuck, I got 5 things I didn't get done yet. And I wouldn't want to go to bed till they were done. So that's just something that you kind of have to learn and fill out for yourself. But, for me personally, that's something that I've been working on a lot this year. And it's good to get a lot of things done, but mentally it's a lot more refreshing to be more realistic with what you're trying to accomplish in your 24 hours.
Yeah. So you touched on a second ago when you say you've cross off a bunch of things and you still have 5 things to go and it's 10 p.m. How do you handle that normally?
So it depends on a few things. A, how necessary is what I've written down, because I'm huge on to-do lists. I'm huge on planning my week, my day, the month, everything. So I run it a couple ways. Is it absolutely necessary for me to have this done by tomorrow? And then B, where am I at in the week? Is it earlier in the week? Do I have a little bit of more gas left in the tank? Or is it Thursday where I'm basically running on fumes? Because by the end of the week, depending on how much I've rested leading up to it, I'm literally running on fumes on Thursday or Friday. So what I usually do is I'll have my list of stuff to do. And if I have to wake up at 2:30 in the morning, at between 10:30 and 11:30, I'll just stop. So, like, if I'm like, I'll look at my watch and be like, shit, all right, I got to be up in 4 hours. I'll just stop everything I'm doing, just fucking hop in bed and go to sleep. So it kind of just depends on, what it is.
Cool.
How about you? I mean, I know you've got a lot of stuff you're working on, and you're out there, like, lunging at, 10, 11 o'clock at night like a crazy man. So, I mean, I'm sure you've got some good input here.
Yeah, man. So I think it's all about balance, to be completely honest with you, because I mean, we're grinding for so many hours in the daytime. So like I posted this a long time ago on IG, and I just put it on my story again on Snapchat and IG just to kind of refresh people's memory of my daily schedule. So I mean, real quick, I'm looking at it on my computer right now. Like 2:30, wake your ass up. 2:45, go to old school. Train from 4 to 6. Leave at 6. Get back to Athens around 7:30. 8 to noon. Research, thesis, and class, like all that stuff. Leave for work around 1. Get there at 2, and then I'm working there till about 8:30, and then 8:30 to 10, I'm going back home. Drive, because it's another hour drive, and then so like business development, setting some type of entrepreneurial plan, and then 10 o'clock nightly abs and 10:30 bedtime. That was my schedule last semester, so it's changed a little bit. So because now I got class earlier, so I can't lunge after the workout usually unless I've got extra time. So I've been lunging, like you said, in the evenings after all my work's done at the high school. I kind of enjoy it too. It's a little bit therapeutic. But sometimes, dude, if it's 10:30 or 10 o'clock at night, and I've got 4 or 5 more things on my to-do list, sometimes I like you said, you should just go to bed. You know what I mean? And it's one thing that I definitely struggle with, and that it was one of my goals for 2017 to get better at, is to just kind of shut it down. But a lot of time I don't do that. I mean, just to be completely honest. And part of the reason is because I don't want to have that anxiety of not getting things done. But at the same time, playing devil's advocate here, I think it hurts me sometimes too, because if I'm getting up at 2:30 the next morning to get to the gym, it can negatively affect me all day. So like there's some days, I mean, it's ever evolving, because like I said, my schedule from then to now has changed, and sometimes like today's Tuesday, so we're recording this on Tuesday. Like I know I have no class Tuesday at all, so I can do whatever I want. I can spend more time at the gym if I need to. I can leave for work earlier if I need to. And sometimes if I have that late night Monday night, I might come back from the gym, maybe get 1 or 2 things done, and then I might take a 30-minute nap. As soft as that sounds, but sometimes I just got to listen to my body, and because I've had a couple health conditions, which we'll probably get into in future episodes with my heart. But sometimes I'm just like, dude, I don't feel right, or I know I just need a couple extra hours of sleep, or maybe just a 30-minute nap just to get me going again. So it's all about, I think, trying to find that balance. And I know I'm terrible at it, because I feel almost guilty if I'm not doing something. I think we'll talk about that between being busy and productive. I need to get better at not feeling guilty. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes if I see you grinding, or if I see somebody else in our crew grinding, or even one of my competitors for my business grinding, then I feel guilty, and I'm like, I can't stop. I'm gonna work till 11:30 at night, because I know they'll be sleeping. That's
a perfect segue into something I wanted to bring up, which is something that I kind of live by, and it's not like, I don't want to say it's a motto, but it's something I tell myself every day, because it's something that I've dealt with also. And it's not that I'm comparing myself to anybody else, but in a sense I am, is everybody's grind is different. Okay, so people will try to give me shit, because like my typical bedtime, my ideal bedtime is 9:30. That's usually what I do. 4 to 5 days a week, it's 9:30. There's a couple days where it's 10:30, 11:30. But my ideal bedtime is 9:30 p.m. That gives me 5 hours of sleep before I wake up at 2:30. People will try to give me shit and be like, oh, man, you go to bed at 9:30? Like, that's so early, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yes, I do go to bed at 9:30, but I'm being productive towards goals and things I want to do up until 9:29. Yeah, you might stay up till midnight, but you're fucking watching Netflix. So what are you accomplishing those extra couple hours you're awake than I am? Nothing. On the flip side, some people are. You might wake up in the morning at 2:30, and I might see that homeboy's over here, like, he was out grinding till 11 p.m., like, literally just fucking going at it, getting shit done for the business, for, whatever it may be. which is awesome. But so then I, like you said, I feel guilty. I feel bad because I went to bed at 9:30, and my dude over here on Snapchat was grinding at 11 p.m. I got to take a step back and realize I'm waking up at 2:30 and starting my grind at 3 a.m. He might not be getting up till 6:30 and starting his until 7 a.m. So everybody's grind is different. No one's is right. I'm not saying that waking up at 2:30 or 3 is the right thing to do, and it doesn't make me any better than anybody else. It's just that's the schedule I have to keep for where I'm at in my life right now. Like, I don't care if you're hustling your face off at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., or 3 p.m. We all get the same 24 hours in the day, and whether you're using the beginning 24 or the end of the 24, it doesn't matter. It's just you have to keep focused on your goal and realize that your goals and your schedule is going to be different than somebody else's.
Yeah, I know it's extremely hard to not feel guilty because, like I just said, I do sometimes. But for Cory, for somebody listening to this who maybe follows a lot of our crew on Snapchat or Instagram or any social handles, if they see what we're doing and then they feel guilty and then they try to imitate that. I shouldn't say imitate, that was a bad word. But try to do that because I think that's what they need to do to be successful. But say so that they're going to bed at 9:30, getting up at 2:30. But what if they are more, their minds are more active or they're more productive from 9:30 to midnight? Then they're doing themselves a disservice. You know what
exactly.
I mean?
Just because one thing works for somebody doesn't mean it's going to work for you or it's going to work for other people. And you got to keep in mind too, there are people out there hustling their faces off. They're just not active on social media. They're not posting on Snapchat. They're not waking up and taking a picture of their fucking clock every morning. Just because they're not doing that doesn't mean they're not working. So it can be any time. I know, like, we hype the 4 a.m. crew. It's because we're about 20 plus deep at 4 a.m. That doesn't mean we're anything special. The reason we do that is because that means we have found a group of 20 individuals with the same mindset and the same schedule as us, which is something special. So whenever I hype or blow up the 4 a.m. crew, I'm not doing it to tell people, hey, get your ass to the gym at 4 a.m. I know that's stupid. I'm doing it to say, whether you're a painter, you're fucking into mowing grass, whatever it is, find your version. So do whatever you have to do to surround yourself with the same people and the same mindset that you have. I mean, guys at Iron Valley Barbell, right, Homo's Gym, they lift at 6 p.m. I mean, they have guys there at 4 and 5 a.m. too, yes, but the crew, Homo, Bailey, those guys, they lift at 6 p.m. after work. And they're all strong as hell. They got world records and shit. It doesn't mean because you work out at 4 a.m. you're going to be stronger in shape. It can work. You can do it at any time. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I think the big thing is you got to evaluate what schedule will best help what your overall goal is. So I mean, like you said, if you're trying to mow grass, you're trying to find clients who need their lawn mowed on a weekly basis, or you're into art or you're into fitness, you got to figure out what schedule works best for you with whatever else you got going on that day. So like I just told you guys my schedule. That works for me. Like and at this point in time in 2017, that's how I'm most productive. That's how I get all my stuff done. And we talked about this last night, Cory, when we called each other. When I was at Marietta undergrad, my best hours were like my most productive hours were from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Obviously, I wasn't getting up at 2:30 because I would get a half an hour sleep. But I knew that was my best time. So obviously, I wasn't getting up so early. I didn't have a full day of work, but I had a lot more class back then because that's just how undergrad is. I had a lot more class, and then I was playing college soccer, and I still had to get hours in for AT with whatever sport I was in. But I knew I could sleep in a little bit longer because I knew from 11 to 2 I was gonna get so much stuff done. Because I can't study, like, because we had a lot of exam stuff back in the day. I can't study in the morning, or I can't study in the afternoon. Like, I don't know if it's because it's dark out and there's less going on or what, but I knew I tried to fool myself at the beginning where I would try to get stuff done in the afternoon, but it just didn't work for me. So I think you need to kind of self-audit yourself to figure out what works best for you. Because now, I mean, and it's not like it's set in stone. Like, oh, well, now, like, this is my schedule. I can never deviate from it. Because I used to go from that, I would go from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. where I'd be grinding my face off, and now it's almost opposite where I'm sleeping for those times. I used to be most productive during those times. Now I'm sleeping during those times because I found a different schedule that I'm more productive at now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And there's levels to everything too, and you'll find that the more you talk about anything, is when you're younger, either you're in college, you're living in the dorms, you're single, you don't have as many, I want to say, outside influence responsibilities. You can do whatever you want. The older you get families, children, wives, fiancés. I worked out like one time after work when I first started squat every day and doing the whole 9. I got home at like 7:45 p.m. How are you going to have a family life if you're doing that after work? So for me, working a job till 3, 4, 5 p.m. and then going to the gym didn't make sense. So what can I do to have that normal balance of a normal family life? I can wake my ass up, go to the gym, and get my own personal things that I need to do for me out of the way while Jess is still sleeping. I don't expect her to wake up at 4 a.m. and go to the gym. She can go whenever she wants. But if we're going to have like a normal, relationship, dinner, whatever it's going to be, then I need to get up and I need to get that shit out of the way before anyone else gets out of bed.
Yeah, it's all a matter of perspective. I was just, not this weekend, but the weekend before, I went home just to see some family, and then I had to do some business things with a couple of high schools back home. But I went out to Mexico with a few friends, and one of my best buddies growing up, and I was giving him and his brother a hard time because, or not a hard time, but I was saying they work all day. They work at the same place at a Charles Schwab firm, and so they work from like 7 to like 4 or something like that. Kind of the regular 9 to 5 hours, and then they go to the gym after that, like 5:30 to 7:30. And I was like, man, like I give you guys credit, dude. I could never do that. Like that's insane to me. And they were like, dude, you're the one who's getting up at 2:30 to train at 4. Like, we give you credit. I was like, it's just kind of funny that because everybody sees things differently. Like, it was almost unfathomable to me to train at 5:30 in the evening, but then it was the same for them to get up at 2:30 and drive an hour and 15 to a gym at 4. You know what I mean? So it's all a matter of perspective as well.
Exactly. Everybody's grind is different.
Yeah, I think that's super important.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah. So, Cory, if you could give one tip of advice to our listeners, like what's one thing that helps you keep on track during the day?
From my day to day, I like to, I would say probably systematizing. So I systematize, I don't want to say my life to where I'm basically living like a robot, but in a sense I plan my weeks on Sunday, and then every night I plan the next day. So on Sunday I make a list of what I've got going on that entire week. I look at my schedule. Obviously, I do my food prep Sunday morning. I go to the gym Sunday morning, I do my food prep, and then the rest of my Sunday is basically dedicated to prioritizing and planning my week. And then each day I sit down and plan the following, I should say each night I plan my following day. So I wake up at 2:30 and I can go through my entire day without having to think and make decisions. Decision fatigue is something, which was another personal goal of mine that we could probably talk about another day, is spending time and energy making decisions that don't matter. They were drowning me, or basically running my gas tank empty. So I've figured out a way to systematize my day to day to where I don't have to think about it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think so. Like our grinds are pretty similar, Cory. I think. I mean, obviously they're different in certain ways, but the general perspective is pretty similar. But like that was a good example. You said you still get up to go to the gym on Sundays. What time do you get up?
I have been trying to get up at 7. So
Okay.
7 is my sleep in if I'm sleeping in on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my ideal because I like to get a couple extra hours. But if I have to work, because I do work weekends, and if I have other things going on, because I do have a lot of family things that go on the weekends too, I usually get up at 4 on Sunday, which is like a good extra hour and a half sleep.
Yeah. So that's a good point. So like you do that on Sundays, and on Sundays I sleep for like 12 hours. You know what I mean? Because I know that I need to catch up on it, and I don't food prep as religiously as you do. Like a lot of times I'll do it the morning of, like after I get back from class, I'll have a few hours where I just do it for that day, which I would like to start doing some food prep on Sundays. But I think that's a good point. So like that's one difference between you and me. And then another one is we were talking last night again about how you were, writing up plans or something while you're eating or something like that. When I eat, like, because I know I only eat 2 big meals a day and then like a little carb spike at night. When I eat, that's like my me time. I don't do anything besides enjoy the food and maybe put on like SportsCenter or something. Because I know, and I'll plan my day around that a little bit as far as, if I know that something needs to get done real quick, I'll do that before I sit down to eat. Because when I'm eating, it sounds kind of weird, but it's just kind of like a deep breath. So I don't do anything when I eat. And I know if Emily's listening to this, she'll get mad because when I was at Marietta, every time I would sit down to eat, she'd call me. And she'll laugh at this too. I'm not a huge phone talker. Like I really don't enjoy talking on the phone that much, which is something that obviously me and her have to do because we're so far away from each other all the time. But that's always something we get a kick out of because like that's just my me time. And that's a deviation from what you do and probably what a lot of people do because I just need that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. My if I had to say my biggest me time will be like before I go to bed, I will sit on my couch and just like kind of stare at the wall, which sounds kind of stupid, for like 10-15 minutes, and that's kind of where I like take a deep breath because if I like I mentioned earlier, I kind of like hop into bed at 9:29 or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
If I do that, I haven't like turned my mind off, and I'll just lay there for an hour, 2 hours, just like going over thoughts and ideas and whatever it may be in my head. So I like to just like I'll sit down before I go to bed on the couch and just kind of stare at the wall and just kind of zone out for a minute and kind of like take a few deep breaths and then just kind of calm my nerves before I go to bed. But yeah, like in terms of eating, probably maybe once a week I sit down and eat. Other than that, I set up my laptop on the kitchen counter. I got my food sitting right here. I'm eating. I'm either reading blogs that I got to get caught up on, or I'm writing like some workouts that I need to get programmed for the week or whatever it may be. So I mean, putting away dishes, like whatever it is. Usually my food's cold by the time I'm done eating it because I'm doing something else with it, and I just can't. If there's something I need to get done, I just can't stop. And I know if I sit down to eat, the biggest reason is if I sit down to eat, I'll either sit down too long, after I'm done eating, I'll just sit there for whatever, and then I lose my momentum, or I'll fucking fall asleep. Dude, Jess has sent me Snapchats of me, like, I've walked in the door before and sat down on the couch to take off my shoes, and she'll send me a Snapchat, and I fall asleep, like, just sitting there, like, because I sat down and took off my shoes, so I just don't like to sit down until the day's over.
Yeah, well, that brings something funny up. So, we were talking about this morning at the gym. So I didn't get to the gym today till 5:15, and it hurts me to say that. But last night, me and Cory talked for a little bit just to see what was going on, and it was the first time I've been home before 7, probably in like a good 4 or 5 months. So I was pretty pumped. And I came home. Me and Cory talked on the phone for a little bit, so by the time we got off and I actually sat down to eat, it was like 8. And so I was just laying in my bed. I put on a Gary Vee audiobook on my computer and was sitting there eating for a little bit. And literally I think I died. And I literally went into some kind of like hibernation mode because I was like, I woke up for a second at like 1 o'clock in the morning and I didn't know where I was. And so I think that's kind of a good example of what you're talking about there. Because I mean, some you just can't, it's just weird in that way. But one thing I also want to touch on is like the two topics we had today are pretty interrelated. So living within your 24 hours, and everybody's grind is different. So Cory, you touched on in a previous episode that you read about 30 books last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So which is awesome, and you listen to some audiobooks too, which is really sweet. So in my personal case, and I know a lot of people are in their car a lot. So like one way that I make my 24 hours the best for me is I mean, I'm in my car so long that I have to utilize that time because I don't have time usually when I get home, or I just don't have the energy to sit down and read a book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I use that 4.5 hours to develop myself, my mindset, and how I'm thinking, or to get business tips or whatever. That's 4.5 hours if I use all of it to listen to audiobooks, listen to podcasts, and I mean that. Honestly, I don't know, for whatever reason it is, my mind is so active during those times. Like, I don't know if it's just because, like, I'm driving and I have nothing else to do but think. But I mean, probably on average, like, I have 10 minutes of voice recordings on my phone because I'm thinking about stuff for the podcast, for business, recording stuff from the audiobooks. Like yesterday, I'm still trying to finish up Gary Vee's Thank You Economy. I recorded like a 2-minute clip of something he was saying for individual business owners, and then I had another like 4 minutes of stuff that I talked about myself on that, in addition to that voice recording, just so I could remember it and then apply it. You know what I mean? So again, I know this is pretty redundant, but you guys just got to figure out what works for you. Because what works for me, what works for Cory, what works for anybody may not be the best thing for you.
Well, you need to constantly be reevaluating it, because we've talked about how many books I read last year. The reason I read that many books last year was because prior to 2016, I hadn't read a book since college, since high school. So What did I do? I made a goal. I wrote down a goal. I hung it in my bathroom on the mirror, so I read it every single morning, and it was, I'm going to read one hard copy book, and I'm going to listen to one audiobook every single month without fail. And I did that to develop a habit, because last year I wasn't training as many clients. I only had 2 clients last year. I wasn't training as many clients last year, so last year I was more in the learning phase. Now I'm more in the doing phase. You've got to eventually transition from learning to doing. You can't be learning forever, or you're never going to get anywhere. Last year I was learning. I had more time to sit down and read. Now I'm doing. So my goal changed in 2017 to where I listen to one audiobook per month, and that's strictly because they're fucking expensive, or I would do more. And then I listen to one podcast every day. So I'm getting 6 to 7 days a week without fail. I'm listening to something, because I'm in my truck on average 2.5 hours, not quite as long as you, 2.5, 3 hours a day. So that's 2.5 to 3 hours a day. I'm getting that self-development still, but don't get it twisted. I'm not still reading. I've read one book this year so far, and that's because I kind of developed this like accountability partnership, which we can get into at another time, with someone else, that we read a chapter a week, we discuss it, and we learn, and actually forces us to kind of reflect on it rather than just read it without thinking about it.
What book is that?
So yeah, it changes. You need to reevaluate where you're at in life. What's up, Milo? So you need to reevaluate where you're at in life, and it's constantly changing. Yeah, what works for me and you is different than someone else, but works for someone else today is not going to be working for them in 6 months as they progress.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, if you and me are sitting here listening to these audiobooks and podcasts every day, and then either A, never graduating on to either listening to different ones, or B, which is even worse, listening to all that stuff and then not applying it, then it's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
You know
I mean, that's good, though, like, because I know what we kind of wanted to talk about was being a little bit about being efficient with your time and being productive with your time and not just busy. And since you kind of transitioned into, listening to podcasts and books in your car, are there any other tips you could do as far as, like, somebody thinks they're grinding, thinks they're hustling, thinks they're busy, but they're really just spinning their wheels because they're not being productive with it.
Yeah. I mean, being busy and being productive are 2 totally different things. You know what I mean? So, and I think one thing that helps me keep on track is I write little lists out every day, and I don't call them to-do lists. I call them will-do lists. It's just kind of, it's kind of corny and cheesy, but I call them will-do lists just because it's stuff that I need to get done. So because if I have those, and let's say the first thing on my will-do list is to finish my thesis revisions for today, that will keep me from, maybe say the kitchen's dirty or something, or my room's dirty, and I'm just going to do that because I feel like I'm getting stuff done. well, that's not really being very practical. You know what I mean? Eventually I'm going to have to clean. I'm a pretty scatterbrained person, so I'm definitely not a dirty person, but I'm not the most organized. So I got stuff laying all over my room. I mean, you guys saw my room right now. You might not respect me very much because I got clothes everywhere. I got books and papers everywhere. But it's just how I work. You know what I mean? But I'm not unorganized because I have everything I want to do. But I've kind of veered off there. But you guys got to figure out a way to organize your daily productivity. Like I have the big body that encompasses everything I want to do as far as my schedule. So I know what I'm doing hour by hour from 2:30 to 10:30 every day. But then I break that down even further by, in this next half hour, I'm going to do my thesis revisions, turn them in. After that, I'm going to schedule this presentation I have to do for the college on Thursday. You know what I mean? And then go from there to there. And by that time, it's lunchtime, then I'll eat. And then maybe I'll go listen to a podcast on my way to work. So, you got anything to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, so basically the same thing. It's just mine's just tweaked a little bit different.
Yeah.
I've joked before about having like self-diagnosed OCD. So again, from 2016 to 2017, one of my personal goals was get better at being productive versus just being busy. And that's when my to-do lists, I'll call them to-do just because that's habit. That's when that kind of started, was because, like you said, if I'm very much the type of person that, like, if there's clothes in the hamper, I need to do laundry. If there's dishes in the dishwasher, I need to wash them and dry and put them away. It's okay for that shit to pile up a little bit through the week. That's what the weekend is for, to get caught up on some of that kind of stuff. So I've had to like remind myself that stuff like that is okay to pile up, because it's more important that I get, this book done, this program done, this client call out of the way. Like, I need to do stuff like that when that needs to be done, and the laundry can wait. And that's why a big part of the weekend comes into play. Another thing is, like I've talked about, systematizing, planning my week on Sunday. I'm very, very big on doing that. Saturday is my day. I call Saturday my mop-up day. Saturday is the day I get all of the shit done that I didn't get done that week I wanted to do. And then Sunday is my planning, my planning forward day. That's whenever I get ready for the week ahead. Another things for in terms of efficiency, because I've been a mama's boy my entire life, so I'm not ashamed to say that. I talk to my mother frequently, multiple times a week. I talk to my brother. I talk to my dad. I talk to those people. Being 2 hours away from them and being too busy to make it home as much as I used to, if I'm in the truck and I'm not listening to audio or podcast, I'm calling them, and that's when I use that time to catch up and talk and see how everybody's doing back home. And then when I pull in the driveway, I'm like, all right, guys, I'm home. I got to roll. I'll talk to you tomorrow or whatever it may be. So that's just another way of being more efficient with your time. And then the other tip I have, because it's something I've always done, and I got this from my dad, and it used to drive me freaking crazy, but now I'm glad that he was this way, and it kind of like rubbed off on me, is do it now mentality is what I would call it. If you're not doing anything and something needs done, do it now. Why the fuck wait 3 days when you're just sitting there not doing anything? So I'm very much like, not to say I like busy work, but like if I'm not doing anything and something needs done, I'm going to get off my ass and I'm going to get it done now. Because you could wait till Wednesday, but what if something else pops up that you got to take care of? Like, if this is out of the way, it's one less thing you got to worry about. So I'm really big on just, if something needs done, do it now.
Yeah, so you pretty much use your OCD to your advantage.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not trying to sound like a dick when I say I have OCD, because I've never been to a doctor for it. People just tell me I have OCD. I just think I'm super, super organized. But I will say, yes, I have OCD, just because I'm very structured, very organized, whatever it may be. I mean, I'm not trying to say that to be like, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to talk bad about that whatsoever. But I use it to my advantage. Okay, so that's something where you need to play your strengths, or whatever the analogy is you want to use for that. I use that to my advantage on a regular basis.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people can identify with that, because I mean, ADHD, ADD is so prevalent in our society. You know what I mean? Like, the summer before I came to OU for grad school, I had a psychiatrist tell me that I shouldn't go to grad school, because I was diagnosed with ADHD, the inattentive type. So for those of you guys who don't know, there's an inattentive type of ADHD, and then there's a hyperactive type of ADHD. So, I'm not bouncing off the walls all the time, but my mind is so scatterbrained, and it bounces from thing to thing to thing all the time. That's kind of what the inattentive diagnosis is. And I've learned it was funny because I've kind of kept in contact with him, and let him know that I'm doing okay, and things are going well. But I was diagnosed with that, and I wasn't supposed to go to grad school because I wasn't gonna be able to keep everything together, mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten in such a habit of organizing my day, even micromanaging it to the hour, to a half an hour of what I want to do, that I've been able to, be very successful with the grad school so far, with my thesis and my research and my work at the high school. And on top of that, I've taken over a business. I own my own personal business now. I'm in the process of possibly getting in with another business to help it grow, and then doing some other things after graduation, which I'm pretty excited about as well. So for people who listen to this with ADHD, ADD, OCD, whatever it is, you can use that stuff to your advantage. Don't look at it as a limitation. Look at it as something that you can use to be better.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because mine was an instance where I just took I took my, whatever my thing was, which, we would say OCD in this case, I took it and rolled with it 110% and just used it to crush, goal after goal after goal.
Use as a chip on your shoulder.
And then you took yours almost in a sense to where they say, this is going to limit you. And you took it as, well, I can find a way around that. And then, so you've developed your own set of systems to battle that. And it's enabled you to do way more than other people, tried to tell you that you could do.
Yeah, because you just need with the OCD thing, or not the OCD thing, I'm sorry, the ADHD thing, you need a stimulus. Is basically what you're lacking when you have the inattentive type is you don't have a stimulus that can keep you occupied. So I just keep myself occupied with constant stimuli, whether that's working out, schoolwork or whatever. I always have something to keep some type of stimulus to keep me occupied, which sounds kind of weird, but it works for me.
Yeah.
So cool, man. I think that was some good stuff.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Hopefully everybody's able to get a little something out of that and apply it to you. So everyone,
cool,
like I said, I can't stress it enough. Everybody's shit is different. Everybody's grind is different. If you're listening to this and you're a grinder and you're hustling and you're working, just keep in mind that what works for you and what works for the next guy is not going to be the same. Just because someone's better at posting it on Snapchat than you doesn't mean they're working harder than you. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep your head down, to the grindstone and keep working. But at the same time, just be sure that you stop and lift your chin up enough to reflect. And that's when you can reflect, reevaluate, and then re-strategize, your next step.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because what, like I said before about keeping your head down and working, what is working for you now is probably not going to be working for you in 6 months. So at some point you've got to stop and reevaluate, and then take that next direction or figure out what is going to work next.
Cool. Yeah, man, you got to embrace the struggle. There's beauty in the struggle. I love that saying, beauty in the struggle.
Love it.
All right, man. So you got any Cory's quote of the day for us before we get out of here?
So quote of the day, last one I'm going to try to promise you from John Maxwell. I just finished his newest audiobook. Dude, this book was like 10 hours long, and I loved it, though. It was awesome. But the quote reads, "Nothing separates passionate people from passive people like a call to step up." So we can sit here and say, yeah, you got to hustle, but we're also trying to be real and say it's okay to have bad days. You're not always going to be 110%. It's not always going to be pretty. You're going to have days where you just can't. You got to stop, whatever it is. It's not always, you're not always going to be winning. Okay, you're not always going to be winning. But what it boils down to, guys, is you have to step up. Are you really passionate about something? Or do you just think you are because you saw someone do it on Instagram and it looks really cool? So when it boils down to it, you don't you don't always have to do what you want to do, but you always have to do what you have to do. So even if I don't feel like doing something and I'm losing and today's not my day, there's a difference between giving up and not doing something that, I want to get done that day. But if there's something I absolutely have to get done, you have to man the fuck up and do it. Okay? So I'm kind of just going to almost like just be real with you for a second and call you out and say, yeah, I'm telling you it's okay to have bad days and you're not always going to make it. But at some point, if you're really passionate about it, you have to find a way. And there's not a podcast in the world that can teach you how to find that passion that, on the days where you think it's okay to give up, it's not. You need to keep going.
That was legit. I like that.
Sorry, I just kind of snapped.
No, that was legit. I like that. I like that a lot.
I was a little bit. You got any discussion tips for me?
Yeah, man. I got one. So I just literally posted, like, right before we got on this podcast, a post about pause squats and mobility. And I won't talk a ton about that because it says all what I wanted to say in my post. So if you get a chance to go check that out. But just a basic exercise phys or strength conditioning tip for everybody. Pause squats, I talk about in the post, are an isometric contraction. So real quick, I just want to say an isometric contraction is different from an eccentric contraction and a concentric contraction. So just real quick, the difference between these things, you can incorporate them into your training. Actually, they're very effective. So an eccentric contraction is when a muscle is lengthening. So for example, on the descent of a squat, when you're going down, your quads are in eccentric contraction. They're lengthening with the tension on them. Okay? An isometric contraction is when there's no lengthening or shortening of a muscle. So when you're in the pause of a squat, when you're in the hole and you're pausing there, that's an isometric contraction. There's tension in the muscle, but it's not lengthening or shortening. And then a concentric contraction is when a muscle is shortening. So kind of switching gears here, in a bicep curl, when you're curling the weight up, that's a concentric contraction in the bicep. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's like a well-known fact or anything, but I just kind of wanted to get it out there because it's something that you can incorporate those in your training. I know a lot of people will incorporate like deliberate eccentric contractions into their training because it's hard. If you've never done them before, it's tough, and it's a really good technique for rehabs as well because you can still load the muscles. But if you're controlling the weight during that eccentric contraction, if it's for 5 or 10 seconds, that actually is a great way to keep moving during rehab and to keep pushing weight. But it actually helps. It recruits more muscle fibers and actually allows the muscle and the tissue to heal while you're still moving instead of just resting altogether.
Heal by moving.
Yes, sir. Cool, man. All right,
man,
well,
I like that. Thanks.
Yeah, let's get them out of here. You guys know where to find us on social. If you don't, I think we've had a very good dialogue with everybody. So, guys, keep the questions coming. You can find us on iTunes and SoundCloud. We're still working on YouTube, but have a good day, guys.
Peace. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. We'll see you.
Cool.
From inside, but the only real change come from inside. But the only real change come from in cemeteries unchanged. I see men cry, but the only real change come from inside. But the only real change come from inside. But the only real change come from chosen religion. Jesus peace, frozen from sinning, doing dirt, hoping to God He know my intentions. To see a million before I see.